Well, welcome to the 700 Club. Let's go to the CBN News Desk for today's top stories.
Thanks, Gordon. Social media giant Facebook is considering sweeping new policy changes aimed at fighting hate speech and policing political content. But critics warn the proposal is based on an audit by left-wing groups and threatens conservative speech and values. Charlene Aaron has the story.
Facebook recently released a recent civil rights audit headed by former ACLU Director Laura Murphy, based on the recommendations of 90 liberal organizations. Dan Gaynor of the Media Research Center says relying on left-wing groups to define who should be protected and what defines hate speech directly affects Christians and conservatives.
This is the second time we've seen Facebook wrap its arms around the product of the former head of the ACLU and 90 liberal groups, all getting basically control of the most powerful social media company in the history of mankind.
MRC says the audit only addresses liberal issues while ignoring conservatives, and the new guidelines will inform every facet of Facebook's policies.
Across the entire organization, everything from content, the product itself, advertising, and even human relations. So basically the hiring and firing. This is an organization that's already stocked with liberals, and now liberals are going to control more of who they hire.
Topics highlighted by the audit include the census and the 2020 election. It also talks about suppressing hateful ideologies, which could be applied to those who oppose gay marriage and the LGBT agenda. Conservatives already believe they are discriminated against by social media companies. Blaze TV host Graham Allen was recently banned from Facebook after issuing a call to pray for President Trump.
I made a video and I basically captioned it saying, "Real Christians pray for everyone." And a couple days later, I got a notification from Facebook that I had violated their community standards for hate speech. So they took the video down, they removed it. I got no appeal process, no anything.
President Trump himself says he's been treated unfairly.
So many people come up, they say, "Sir, it's so hard." They make it hard to follow. What they're doing is wrong and possibly illegal, and a lot of things are being looked at right now.
So you just said that what the tech companies are doing may be illegal. Is there a role for the Justice Department?
Well, there could be, and I don't want to even say whether or not they're doing something, but I will tell you there are a lot of people that want us to.
The president has invited conservative media critics to the White House for a social media summit later this month to discuss partisan bias on tech platforms. Charlene Aaron, CBN News.
Turning now to the Middle East, where Iran's president issued a warning today telling its European partners in the 2015 nuclear deal that Tehran will increase its enrichment of uranium to, quote, "any amount we want." President Hassan Rouhani's comments put more pressure on European countries to offer Iran a way around U.S. sanctions. Iran has acknowledged that it has exceeded a limit on its stockpile of low-enriched uranium, bringing it closer to producing enough material for a nuclear bomb. A new step forward in the war on terror. U.S. forces stormed an al-Qaeda training facility in Syria. It's where military officials say operatives plotted attacks against U.S. citizens and allies. The goal was to disrupt an area long known to be a safe haven for al-Qaeda and ISIS. In Jerusalem, a major road project is underway, but it's not about easing traffic jams. Archaeologists are opening an ancient path that Jewish worshippers used 2,000 years ago. CBN Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell has more.
U.S. Ambassador to Israel David Friedman broke through a symbolic wall onto the pilgrimage path.
But were there ever any doubt about the accuracy, the wisdom, the propriety of President Trump recognizing Jerusalem as the capital of Israel? I certainly think this lays all doubts to rest.
Within a few months, visitors will be able to walk all the way from the Pool of Siloam up to here, the halfway point on the pilgrimage road.
We have thousands and thousands of finds here that have been made by Israel Antiquities Authority archaeologists. You see the flagstones of the road, you find them here at the pool, and you see the exact same flagstones at the end near the Temple Mount itself. And if you look, it's the same designer, the same cut, shape, and design. It's one construction project.
And to those who observe the Christian faith, to feel the steps of Jesus as he walked as a Jewish pilgrim, as he ascended to the temple, his visits, of course, to the temple, well known and well documented. It is an intact, living, breathing piece of history that every one of us has the opportunity to experience for ourselves.
Ze'ev Orenstein of the City of David Foundation says a key part of this discovery is its authenticity.
Everything that we have here is original. Where we find the road, you see the road. In the areas where there's destruction, that's what you see. And then when you find the road again, that's what there is. The idea is to preserve the ancient pilgrimage road as authentically as possible.
That will give visitors a chance to taste what life was like in the time of the Bible. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, The Pilgrimage Path, the City of David.
Amazing story there. In other news, back here at home, the Inspector General for the Department of Homeland Security issued a report warning of dangerous overcrowding in detention facilities on the southern border, putting out pictures of people kept in standing room only cells for as long as a week and children with no access to showers. DHS responded by saying it treats detainees with the utmost dignity and respect. Meanwhile, a federal court blocked a Trump administration policy keeping asylum seekers in custody until their cases can be resolved. Critics are questioning President Trump's July 4th event in the nation's capital. The Salute to America will feature a parade and tribute to America's armed forces, including a flyover by the Blue Angels and tanks on display on the National Mall. The D.C. City Council says it's worried the heavy tanks will damage the mall. Others charge the president's speech at the Lincoln Memorial will be more about politics than patriotism. The president says it's all about honoring America. The Museum of the Bible in Washington, D.C. is opening an exhibit that will plunge visitors from light to darkness to give them a whole new view of the end times. Paul Strand has this look at the Tapestry of Light.
Visions in the book of Revelation have been with us for almost 2,000 years, but now here they are reinterpreted in a 21st century way.
The Tapestry of Light exhibit at Washington's Museum of the Bible shows St. John's Apocalypse through massive tapestries stretching some 100 feet, but featuring new nanotechnologies that let the art go from light to phantasmagorical glow-in-the-dark images. Artist Irene Barbaras has been working on it for 2 decades.
Light became a trigger, really, for people understanding a text that generally would put them into some type of state of fear.
Amy Van Dyke is curating the cutting-edge exhibit.
Science, faith, art, all of these things that perhaps have been very separated in the past. We're now bringing those all together in this.
The intent is anything but bringing people down with a sense of gloom and doom.
When most of the world is thinking about the horrors of war and the potential devastation of the environment and every other thing, for Christians, for those who believe in what the actual text says, there is something else coming afterwards.
Looking at the kind of hope that light can bring, that light is revelatory, that it illuminates the darkness.
For as Revelation clearly shows, in the end there'll be a bright new heaven and a new earth.
The end for within the texts of the Apocalypse is actually the beginning.
Van Dyke likes how this Australian artist has inserted pieces of her own life and times to remind us these wild events at the end are coming to a very real world we live in.
There's a jar of Vegemite that's in this, and it talks about the everyday things amidst the chaos of war, and that people will be eating and drinking but not knowing when the coming of Jesus will be.
The Tapestry of Light exhibit opens July 6th here at the Museum of the Bible and will go well into the year 2020. Paul Strand, CBN News, reporting from the Museum of the Bible.
The U.S. women's soccer team is heading for its 3rd straight World Championship after defeating England 2-1 in Tuesday's semifinal in France. The U.S. took a 1-0 lead, but England came back to tie it up at 1-1. Then Alex Morgan put the U.S. ahead for good. The U.S. is the defending world champion. They'll play the winner of the Sweden-Netherlands game for this year's title.